It's so catchy.
Challenge in the Yellow Pages was if you take a bigger ad,
To do digital marketing,
that completely changed the game.
because we come from a country that has many problems.
When the power goes out, the business runs.
It's what I'm really interested in.
But mostly you get your lowest conversion rate through the web.
So social media to FAQ to hitting my site.
I think the LLMs are pretty good at indexing the content you have now.
Robbie, thank you very much for joining me today. You and I have got a bit of history together, but it's incredible that you've made time to come and talk about the incredible things you've done in your life, some of which I am intrigued by immensely and really want to dig into, especially your job title. So maybe you want to just give us an introduction of where did you start and where you are today, and drop the job title in, because I think that's something for the future.
Yeah. Thanks, Brendyn. We do have a little bit of history, obviously, having been in high school together way back in Cape Town, South Africa. Now we're two different parts of the world, and so fantastic that we can actually reconnect again. It's pretty awesome. And so, yeah, when you and I left high school, I actually went through to the States. I got a scholarship to go play some soccer there. I was about 2 years in. I did a bit of an injury, an ankle injury, and came back to South Africa. Finished off a degree at UCT, and then started working for a company that was selling lights and lights fixtures, like retail. And at that stage, a mutual friend of ours that we went to school with as well was starting up a little company. They're going to do some self-storage. Essentially, let's rent some empty space. We would know it as like an empty garage. And I thought, at that age, we're young. Why not? What have we got to lose? Let's go for this. We can be our own boss. Let's see how this rolls. And that was actually 19 years ago this month. And so we would meet, in our parents' kitchens. Our offices were in old bedrooms. So it was a phenomenal journey. And it actually listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So it grew phenomenally. And about 5 years ago, we realized through that journey, I essentially started all the different roles, there was no debtors department, there was no IT, there was no HR, to the point where, if we were choosing what carpets were going into the new offices, we'd go and select those, and opening bank accounts. So learning just how to run a business. And I think we made a lot of mistakes, and we also made a lot of good decisions. And I think the real great journey of it was it was entrepreneurial spirit. We were young guys. We were robust. We were scrappy, and we just made it happen, and enjoyed it along the way. And I sort of angled into the marketing based off of the studies and my interests. At that stage, there was a lot of Yellow Pages stuff. That's the telephone books. That's pretty much gone now. But as we evolved into kind of the digital age, and I was really interested in tech and computers. My dad was a computer programmer, so I got heavily involved on that side. And 5 years ago, we then launched Digital First, which is essentially, it's a digital marketing agency, but focusing only on the self-storage sector, which is the experience that I'd had for the past 14 years. And so the title, Director of Search, we were digital marketing agency, and we were going across to these European conferences and getting speaking positions. And it's really difficult to get someone to chat to you to understand that actually you do know what you're doing, and you are an expert, and you have built a properly listed company. If you're down at the bottom of Africa, who are you, where are you from, what do you do? And especially if your job title is digital marketing manager, there's hundreds of those. And so we actually just decided to change it to Director of Search, so that it had a little bit of a better ring to it when we were presenting in these European conferences. And that's essentially how we came up with the name.
Yeah, no, it's so catchy. Like, it's just Director of Search. You don't see it that often. It's very catchy, and I think it's a trend that's going to start. You're just going to see way more of like lead search analyst, and you're going to get a lot more of it, especially in the age of AI now. So, funny story is, I remember my dad gave you guys the best deal possible to look after your garages at the bottom of Edgemead. I remember that. So my dad obviously ran this. Full background, my dad had a security company. So
Yeah,
I
it's
remember him, and he also trained lots of them, Ross and everyone at the cricket ground. My dad was
cricket
obviously,
grounds.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
also down there as well. That's how he got them. They started, you guys started, and then he was like, they needed security to look after. So he helped them with the alarm systems there. I remember my dad telling me that. So, but yeah, you
Yeah.
guys have done amazing. The thing I find super intriguing is that how storage, and you found this niche place to do digital marketing just for storage companies, and how you've pivoted out of being a massive storage giant, and you've got places all over the world. It's not singular. It's not just Africa. You've now spread across the world, but spread, like, pivoting out of that is amazing. So is this a separate company, or is it
It's a
underneath the umbrella?
That's right. It's underneath the umbrella, so we'd probably call it a division at this stage. So it's established itself quite nicely. And I suppose how it came about was we obviously back in the day we're talking yellow pages. So you'd go take billboards, the yellow pages, advert, and then the big challenge in the yellow pages was if you take a bigger ad, you'd be further ahead. And then if it was color, you'd be further ahead. And then everyone started calling them AAA self storage because it was alphabetical. And when Google launched and the internet was out, that completely changed the game. And that was really for us starting to learn how do we advance in this digital age. Now, my dad's a computer programmer. I'd done some computer science degree in America, so I was fascinated by this digital aspect of it. And so we essentially approached an agency. It was one of the largest agencies in Africa at the time. And we said, look, we'd like to partner with you. And they first told us, look, sorry, you're too small. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Yeah.
Go and chat to some freelancers. And we said, no, well, look, how much? And they gave us a price, and it was a big number for us. And we thought, okay, but look, the opportunity here is to go and learn this. So we, to their surprise, we said, yes, let's do it. And we were with them for 12 months, and we learned an enormous amount. And that, I mean, they'd come from all these different industries. They were learning digital marketing. They were showing us the ropes. And from that, we actually started going in-house. So we then bought our own paid media person. We started learning. We launched our Google ads. Obviously, you've got Meta ads at that stage, still Facebook. And we started learning how to operate in this digital space. And the real caveat for us is that we knew self-storage. I mean, we'd been doing it for years, so we know the product. And it isn't, we often use this term. If there's a chocolate bar, we'll call it a bar one. I mean, I don't think you have that in Austria, or a Kit Kat, But if it's on special and it's like 10p, great, I'll take one. I might have it later. The self-storage is quite different. It's kind of a needs-driven product. People are moving home. So the pricing point wasn't really the major factor. If you didn't need to move in, or you weren't moving home, or you weren't renovating, it didn't matter what the price point was. I just don't need the product right now. So it was about brand awareness and being there at the right time. So we understood that, and then we overlaid this digital aspect. And I think the real hit for us is our first purchase, our large purchase. We purchased 11 self-storage facilities in Pretoria, and we started doing the marketing, and we significantly outperformed the previous agency. And I don't think it's because we were clever. It was just because we knew the self-storage product, and we had this digital marketing capability. And as we grew and as we bought companies and as we built, we realized we're outperforming these agencies. And I don't think it's because we don't have the skills. It's really, we know our product and we're doing the skills. And the conversation at that stage, I'm very close with my boss now, Chris Erstason. We've worked together for now nearly 15 years. And we've had conversations, for on and off, like, we're going to start this agency, we're going to start this agency. And so 5 years ago, it was launched, and we took our first client in the UK, and we did really well there as well. So out of that, we managed to secure another one in central London. Now, London for self-storage is one of the most difficult markets you'll find. I mean, there is actually a street in London where there's 3 self-storage facilities in one road. I mean, you can literally stand in the middle and look at 3 different operators. And so it's incredibly competitive. But actually, we were able to outperform there as well. And shortly after that, through some relationships of ours, we secured business in Spain. So our first foreign language self-storage operator, and thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? At that stage, it was trying to get translators on board and them helping us, translate our English. That's evolved heavily now, where AI is just phenomenal for that. So it's really helped us unlock some efficiencies. But essentially, it grew, and at the moment, I think we're quite well recognized in the industry. I think people have accepted that there are guys down the bottom of Africa who have got a track record. It's not just that they say they can. We really do perform. I think we're in about 250 facilities globally, 10 different languages, and a team of about 30 staff members now. So really, really awesome journey, a lot of fun. It's still very much in the self-storage industry. It's still close to my heart. I still see the brand we built in South Africa. The first one, as you said, your dad was there in Edgemead in Cape Town. It's still very close to my heart. I still stay close to it. And if I'm on holiday and I drive past a storage facility, we've got to look at it and pop in. And it really is just empty space. But I'm still fascinated by people's journeys. Why are they using it? What are they moving in for? Life situations that happen, and all of that understanding just drives our sort of growth and performance.
Wow. So the secret sauce to all of this will be that it's storytelling and understanding the story that needs to be told. So you captured that really early on. You understood that there's a product, and telling a story around that, and then doing it in the digital realm was what was actually drove the business. And again, people don't realize it, but South Africa is the biggest economy in Africa, if I remember correctly from when I looked at it. And Johannesburg is insane with the numbers in comparison. It's bigger than some of the countries, the GDP of just Johannesburg. But the innovation that's been driven out of there is spreading across the world, and people don't actually see it until it arrives, that innovation.
Yeah.
And how Africa's pushing the boundaries because we have less and we don't necessarily have all the infrastructure, but that gives us an opportunity to leapfrog everyone with the next technology, because we don't have to sit on the old rails. We can literally leapfrog.
Yeah.
So
you saw that with cell phones or mobile devices. There was the analog systems that came out, but South Africa jumped straight into the digital. So we did, although we always touched behind, it actually grew rapidly, and it was a better technology. And the storytelling element, you're absolutely spot on. So obviously, when we started, storage 19 years ago, I was kind of the first store manager, and I was actually staying at our offices where, you remember Gavin Lucas is one of he's the founder of Storage. So I was working at his house. We built 120 units. There was no walls, no roads. Someone would phone in. I would drive down, meet them there with the contract. Say, look, there's the unit that you can store in. And we started learning, why people were storing with us. And it wasn't really, there was a lot of life events. So it wasn't a case of, I see the product, I like the product, although that usage is definitely there, just to clear out clutter in your home, get your garage back, businesses are operating, you don't want the stock at home. All of that's there. But it's a lot of death, birth, marriage, divorce, it's life events, renovating home, changing jobs, moving cities. And I found working as the first store manager, when you're engaging with people, it really was, if you can connect with the person, that was really the element that decided whether they were going to use your facility or not. And sometimes it was just a chat about, I'm moving out, I'm downsizing, I can't take my dog with me. And they just wanted to, release and vent that they're really upset that, their dog is going to be sitting with their parents or their siblings because, they can't move out, and making that human connection. And it's that element of storytelling of why you're actually moving. It's not about saying, hey, here we've got a product, here's a price. There is an emotional connection to it. And so I think that, let's call it that school of actually just meeting hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people over the years, understanding why they're moving, And a lot of it is good news, and some of it's also bad news, and being empathetic to understand where they sit, and that our product actually genuinely is going to help them at that stage. Having said that, we've also done, I don't know if you've seen the program Storage Wars. The guys have got, they find something absolutely fascinating, which was worth, tons in every single episode. And I can just tell you, like, the reality is, that's really not true. If there's anything of value in there, most people have used that for whatever it is. And it's very rare that for us that it would go to auction. It would just be, take the goods, remove it, and move on. We want to have an empty unit that someone can use. But that human connection is there, and I think you're right with the South African element is, and I think the right word for South Africans is scrappy. We'll make a plan. We'll learn the routes. We work hard, and I'm not saying that certainly anyone else isn't, but as we've gone around, and a lot of our clients are global, it's amazing how many South Africans we connect with. I mean, we've got a South African client. He's in Spain. He's got 2 facilities in Spain, but he's from South Africa. We're moving one of the largest steel self-storage companies. There's a guy heads up, and he's South African. There's a data finance interpreter out of Somerset West. We actually purchased a storage facility in Somerset West, and the lady moved across to the UK, and she's doing data for the self-storage industry, but she's from South Africa. So it is awesome to catch all of these South Africans globally and see us really, I think, graft and work hard. We're not afraid to put the effort in. Yeah.
But it's not only the effort side of it. I think it's also we're lucky in the fact that we view the world in a very different way, and we understand that we need to push forward, and we're always looking for innovative ways to drive that forward. And we're looking for that opportunity, and we'll drive for that opportunity, versus other people might wait for the opportunity or may take an easier road. We're always like, well, what is the competitive advantage? What is the opportunity that's in here? How can we innovate this? How can we solve? Maybe it's actually problem solving. We like to solve problems. So we go out into the world and we just solve problems. And it's not about complaining. It's like people complain about problems, but we go and solve those problems because we come from a country that has many problems that need solving. So we just solve the problem. We don't complain. I'm probably butcher it because I've been away for so long, but in Burma complain. Yeah.
No, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, I'm sure you're aware there's the rolling, blackouts or power outages with Eskom. And did we complain? Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not great, but what do we do about it? Okay, well, we go and install solar panels, and we get generators, and where do you get the fuel? And we make a plan. And when the power goes out, the business runs. The plan is made. We just get it done. And but that innovation is helpful. It will drive further growth and innovation. So, agreed.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to pick up on was you were talking about human connection, which is, if we look at the way everything's grown, especially when we go digital, we can see how these platforms are supposed to bring us together, but they actually started wedging us apart. And then you making that human connection, that one-to-one, understanding the story, giving the venting, and creating that human connection, and then storytelling as well on top of that. Do you see the in real life, so the IRL, as like people like to put it, do you think that's something that's going to be far more valuable coming in the future? The storytelling and then the IRL? So these places of storage become places of connection.
It's really possible, Brendyn. It's a tough question as well, and I really love it because I mentioned I've got the computer science background, but I actually finished a degree in psychology at UCT. So the psychology element of the human beings, and the technology element, and how do we marry these? And one thing's for sure, you can't ignore the technology. It's coming, it's here, it's going to advance. People are going to use it. That's just what it is. And I think it's our duty to make sure we adopt it and using it in the best way possible. The human connection for me is absolutely fascinating. We've really tried to understand our consumer down to that human level. So we might look at various, as a business, you look at how am I going to be more profitable? How am I going to get more sales? How can I drive a price? That type of element. And we've kind of cut down. Self-storage is it's homogenous globally as well. There's a lot of different cultural learnings. And certainly we've seen that, and I can touch on, different cultures and how they perform for self-storage specific. But in self-storage, we've actually cut it down to kind of web inquiries, telephone inquiries, and walk-in inquiries. And the reason I mention that is because that's the touch points the human has with you. Now, whether that's through a WhatsApp channel, a web chat, a website quote, if they're phoning you or arriving at your store, it's all a human being driving that need behind. And we actually found different conversion rates at those levels. So your lowest conversion rate normally is the website, and that is because you can jump around to different competitors and check prices and so on and so forth. And there's also there's a slightly nuanced element in the States. In America, they all show their prices. So if you pop online, you'll see all the prices of the self-storage units. And everywhere else in the world, there's a little bit of a mix, but mostly they kind of say, let's give us your details and then we'll give you a price. So there's a touch of a nuance there. But mostly you get your lowest conversion rate through the web. And then it doubles if you can get them on the telephone call, which is really significant, because it means if I can get that human connection, I've got twice the chance of actually converting you into a customer. And for me, I believe that's because we can make that connection, and I can really solve the problem that you're looking at, or be empathetic. Listen, that lady I mentioned, I don't know where to put my dog. I'm really upset. And they just make a connection, and they're not going to phone the next one because we've chatted and I'm going to do business with you now. So that doubles it. And then, interestingly enough, if they get them into store, if they actually walk through our doors and they're at our facility, that's 3x. So now the chances of them deciding to be a client with you, because we're face to face and building that relationship, is extortionately high. You almost really they either really don't need the product, or something else happens in their life that they actually don't require this anymore, or you've really made a botched job of the relationship. And the fascinating thing with that as well is we've seen specific store managers, and that human element, it's a skill, being able to connect with someone and find that common ground and be empathetic is a skill. And we've seen that managers who can do that, I can take them to a store that's not performing, drop them in there, and suddenly that store's records are just, the stats are great. They're starting to get move-ins and inquiries, and everything's going up, and they're collecting debt. And that whole store's business just starts running based off that individual store manager. So for me, I cannot see a world where we will remove the human element. Self-storage is advancing drastically as well. That we've got unmanned kiosks. They've certainly got the little robots that will actually take you around facilities and chat to you about what sizes they are, how much they cost. It'll dispense padlocks and key codes so you can get access and lock your unit. And they're all really good. And I think I'm seeing maybe the younger generation come in and say, listen, initially, I don't want to talk to a human being. Just give me the information. Just want the data. How much is it? Where is it? How can I store? Just tell me. And then it's once they've kind of made the call of, I think I'll use this, very often they'd like that human contact still. So you've got to be available. And I think marketing at this stage is, listen, just be available on any platform where the customer chooses, and try and be as good as you can at it.
Yeah, the intriguing thing is that as we've moved through, we keep trying to automate things and make it sort of quicker and easier, and we keep cutting out the human connection. But every time you look at it, when you use human connection, you scale quicker by actually focusing on that connection versus not focusing on it and purely automating it. Although the younger generations obviously want way more information, but I think that's because of this, what do you call it? It's the speed at which their lives are moving, that they need it faster because they need to make a decision faster because there's so many distractions. So I get that aspect of it. It's the same as me. If I'm looking for something, I want to make an assessment very quickly, and I want the data presented to me quickly and in a way that I can absorb it really quickly and come to that decision point. I don't want to fill out this form, put my email in and go through all these hoops anymore. I really want, can you present it to me and then I can decide, make a really informed decision from there. And then the
Yeah.
human connection is 100, or the storytelling, the human connection are 100% what is the tipping point of why you would choose somebody. How do you make me feel? It's all about human feelings at the end of the day, because the more we digitize, the more people are lacking a feeling of something. That feeling disappears and it gets eroded. And the more you can offer that, that's what I see, the more you win. And you've just proven that example, that how it scales from digital touch point to voice only, and then into finally face to face.
The face to face is really yeah, if you can create that relationship. I never thought in our lifetime we'd say it's a skill to have a human interaction, but it genuinely is. And the younger generation that we're chatting to very much just want to, it's digital, show me what this is. They start and end relationships online without even meeting people. It is really fascinating, and I can only say that because I've got teenage kids, so I've seen that growth. And I think even for us, it was actually a silly example of it. But I was looking for a new pair of headphones. I popped into a shop. I didn't really know what to choose. And I pulled out my phone on ChatGPT, took pictures and said, listen, which one of these should I purchase? And as you said, it gives me the breakdown of the data. Here's your pros, here's your cons. These are the kind of price ranges. We recommend this one. I thought, I really caught myself saying, okay, well, I'm not even making a decision here. I'm letting AI choose which one of these is good for me or not. And oddly enough, I actually had the two. I had my recommendation from AI. I popped over to the sales assistant at the shop and I said, listen, which one? And he said, no, not those ones, this one. And I went with the third option, not the AI recommendation, actually the guy in the shop. So, that human interaction there, just for me, it was another a tick box exercise where, yes, I trusted the person in front of me. He is the expert. He's chatting to me. I didn't go with AI, even though it was really good. The recommendations were great. And so, but that human interaction, yeah, I thought it'd be really difficult for me to get away with it. Maybe I'm showing my age. Maybe the younger generation are happy never to chat to a human being. And we are seeing that in self-storage. There's a lot of smaller self-storage facilities which are completely unmanned. You can move in online, you download an app, there's a kiosk at the door, and certainly the business model's working, and there's no human behind it. Most of the owners that we chat to have that type of model, still have the telephone number or the chat functionality, which they will man, and they get queries. So I think every now and again, yeah, that human touch does come in. And from my experience, if you've got that human touch, your business runs a little bit better.
Yeah, it's about relationship building, and you need to be able to build relationships, and that requires human connection. You can have pretty pictures as much as you want. That's just attention, but you need to convert that attention, and to convert it is a human connection. Ultimately, you need to connect with on a human level in order to. So a good pivot from here would be you using chatbot to help you purchase headphones. That's probably the best part of this pod so far. But what's interesting to me is going into AI and how search has changed. So we obviously started with yellow pages. Before that was recommendations and storefronts and placards maybe. And then we've moved down right into AI, driving a lot of this sort of information funnel, can I call it? Like SEO is no longer SEO, although the fundamentals are still true. We're pivoting, and it's becoming a faster pace. So where do you see currently, where are the opportunities? There are also pitfalls, but where are the opportunities currently in digital marketing and driving a digital strategy to acquire new customers? You've spoken about the human element, the back end of that, but now we can talk about the front end. I mean, MCPs is what I'm really interested in, but if you could touch on that.
Yeah, you really you triggered a memory there as well. The old yellow pages. We actually also got the old estate agent boards. Just kind of placards where you just type, we put up a little offer, our company name, and we actually call them place and leave. So pulse boards, we just turned them pulse boards. That was our internal thing. We printed hundreds of them, and I'd go out hammering them in on all different corners. That was our marketing, just to get that reach. And then obviously, Google and the search engine and the real opportunity there was being first. So if you had a website and you were first, and just by age. So for quite a while, we were trying to get above some storage facilities that had just been there for years and trying to game the system. What do we do? And that was the birth of SEO, silly things like what is your H1 header? What is the domain name? If you had the name self-storage in your domain name, it was like the old AAA. And trying to learn these things. And then backlinks became very large, important. And people farmed massive, go and link to my website. And it didn't matter the relevancy. And there was this cat and mouse game between, the Google and the digital marketers. Okay, I've figured out your algorithm. I'm going to game it in this way. And then they'd update it, and then it would hit your website. And you'd have to, jump back in on how do we play this game now. And so SEO has obviously evolved incredibly over the last few years. Google Business Profiles, or it was Maps, at that stage, then became the top element. You'd have your ads, then your maps, and then your organic. And Maps was phenomenal for storage anyway, because it's a location-driven business. And you rightly point out, it was an opportunity cost. So when it came in, we actually were Google partners at that stage, and we got access to the beta launch of it. And so we had about 6 months headway on making sure that this was optimized and up and running, and it was available. And wow, it really performed. It really did. We got most of our organic traffic through it. We get clicks to the website, click to calls, click for directions, and it really generated a lot of business for us. And I think that's the case. And I'm seeing that. The reason I mentioned it was 6 months is because I'm seeing that time just drastically reduce. I mean, I think ChatGPT was the most downloaded app, in history. I think it got it was a ridiculous number. It was like within the first 2 days.
It was a billion. They got their first billion users in like a week or something, wasn't it? Or a month?
Something like that. Yeah.
Crazy.
I think something got to like 100 million in 24 hours or 48 hours or something. It was just, okay. So your opportunity cost now is can I do this quickly and get it to market now and see if there's a competitive advantage? And the longer I've done it, before the competitors do it, that's where I'm getting the opportunity, and that time is shrinking drastically. But out of that now, recently, AI overviews have stepped in, and I think SEO, and I've seen the term GEO be coined. Yeah. It's generative engine optimization, and We've tried to play the game as much as possible. Initially, when it came out, the top 3 AIO's results didn't match the top 3 organic at all. And I think a lot of SEOs and website owners were up in arms. Google, how can you do this? What's the new rules? How do I rank in this? I rank organically. Why don't I rank in the AIO? And I think they've done a good job from Google's perspective anyway on getting those results to kind of match. So they haven't really come out with any guidelines on how you do this yet. And essentially saying best SEO practice, what we've been saying for years, just keep doing that. And we follow all the trends. We've got our Google partner status. We chat with the guys. We look at John Muller's head of SEO. We look at all his data. And so over the years, they've been saying like backlinks mean less and less and less, elements like that. And I think the real part of it is just staying absolutely up to date, always reading the latest, always trying something, always A/B testing. We tested with Google Ads. They launched Performance Max, I think in 2021, I think it was.
Yeah.
Might have been sooner. But Performance Max essentially does what it says on the tin. Give us a budget, what's your goal, and we'll hit the most conversions we can. And we had tried that probably every year for the last 5 years. We launched campaigns and compared it to our search campaigns that our specialists were running. And every single year, our specialists outperformed the AI, except for this year. So for the first time, performance max campaigns started outperforming search campaigns. Now we learned some tricks within that as well. Even though the AI is getting more intelligent, I think obviously we've been training it and teaching it. I don't like this, I do like that. So naturally it would get better. And there are some times where the AI still underperforms and we wouldn't use it, but there are some fantastic use cases of it. So that's helpful. And then we've seen in the States the launch of AI mode, which is the full LLM chat. So that's coming. I did see that there is there's a court case, I think, against Google in Europe where they actually don't want AI modes to be used because it's actually taking information and essentially Google showing it without any traffic going to the website. And at the moment, you've got what they call the crocodile effect. So your impressions essentially are going up, but your clicks are going down. And so you get this kind of wide-jawed crocodile effect on your graph. So
can you explain that
Google
a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So if you look at your graph and you just take over time, the number of impressions that your website would get on search terms, it would generally be pretty flat. Maybe there's some seasonality in there, but the longer you get it, it's generally pretty flat, hopefully growing a little bit. And now we're seeing with AI overviews that actually those number of impressions are jumping up. And the reason for that is that in the AI overview, there's generally about 3 websites showing in there. So you can see a lot of websites will show for the same query. So you get an impression. And then it's a chat function. So they'll ask a follow-up question and you might show that. And a third follow-up question, and you might show in that AI overview as well. So now you're getting more and more impressions for your website. But the user's not necessarily clicking to go through your website because they're reading the answer that they wanted on Google's platform. They're not clicking and going to your website and then reading the answer. So now your number of clicks, although that was fairly stable, is actually slightly dropping. If anything, potentially, if you're holding on number of clicks, your website traffic, it's stable. That would be wonderful. But now you get this little jaw opening where your number of impressions, how many times your website shows in search results increasing, the number of website clicks actually decreasing because the users got the answer they wanted without visiting your website. And so the crocodile effect, that open mouth, is something that we're looking at within the industry. There's opportunities there too.
That signal, though.
There is a bit of signal, but there's opportunity. Look, the catch is, in theory, your click-through rate's going to drop. But you have to play the game. You can't be in a position where, okay, well, because it's a lower click-through rate, I don't want to appear in AI overviews. You might never win the click, and certainly you've got a branding element. So you have to at least show in that. I think Google's also coming out saying, look, you're likely to get more qualified traffic because they've gone and answered all the questions and done their research, got the answers, and then by the time they click through to your website, there's a decision made that that's where I'm going to go. Whether that's true or not, I suppose we'll see.
Incredibly interesting because I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking out aloud now with you. I'm going, so basically it's FAQ and then you get qualified lead. So it's changing the way your traffic is going to be routed, meaning the signal in that divergence now is telling you to focus more on answering questions, because the better you answer questions, the better the verified lead's going to be.
You're absolutely
so
spot on.
You've got to change the front to suit the source, and then social media is going to be your next best. So social media to FAQ to hitting my site.
Well, you mentioned social media as well, and it wasn't, I think, 2 weeks ago that it was announced that Meta and Instagram was going to be indexed on Google. Now that is a huge, change for SEO, because beforehand you'd look at it and think, just go post, whatever you like, and often on these Meta channels, especially if you're a business, if you weren't paying to boost that content, it just genuinely wasn't seen. I think the number was something below 1% of your followers base would actually see a post that you put on your business channel unless you promoted it. Certainly on Facebook. I'm not sure about Instagram. But now being indexed, or that content being indexed, look, they have said, they haven't told us what will be indexed or how they're deciding. They've just said, listen, we'll decide. You can only imagine it is more interactive content. I imagine video, or we've seen video content come in. And you rightly point out that the job of the SEO now, or GEO, is content. So not just on the website, you've got to answer the questions that people would ask. And actually, recently we're seeing and specifically in Google Ads and Google Search Console, we're seeing the general query length, and I mean the Google search, has increased by a couple of words. So beforehand, you might just type in, plumber near me. Now you might type in, best reputable plumber at cheapest rate near me, and it's because it's a conversation. It's not a Google search. Or how do I choose the best plumber?
Is that because voice is more prevalent now?
There's partly voice and
So that
partly
part would be
LLMs.
longer.
Yeah. And like the launch of Gemini and Google or all these other chat engines, the actual search term, it's informational. And we're finding a lot of the where, the what, how queries are bringing up those AI overviews. And that means the content that you produce needs to answer that question. So how much is? I don't think there was a huge, well, certainly we know there wasn't a huge number of searches of how much is for specific services. But now you can ask her how much is, and you don't need to go to the website to find it. The AI overview will give you that answer. And that's you deciding before you get to it. And look, this has been happening, honestly, for years. Google's policy really has been, and I don't want to speak for Google, but they call it like the zero-click experience. So their job, essentially, if they're going to keep the audience, is to give you the best experience and the most relevant answer to your search as quickly as possible. And that's how they keep people going back to it, because it's useful to me. And the second it's not useful to me, then I should go to a different platform. And I think that's why they're putting a lot of resources into the build of Gemini and AI overviews and AI mode, is because they can see that is useful to people, and people are starting to use it to compare products, like I did with my headphones. So I've got to answer the question, which one is better, or what are the pros and cons? How much is? How do I do this? And for self-storage, it's what can I put into a storage facility? What is the security like? How much is it? How much space do I need to store a 3-bedroom home? And you've got to write that content in there. Ideally, you'd be producing video content as well, because we know that social is also now going to be ranking. And interestingly, I've seen in the AI modes as well, it actually sometimes pulls in the same kind of result, say how much is. It'll have an image from one website and the content from a different website, which we don't fully have control over. So that's been a new learning in the last week, because it wasn't great for us. Or in one sense, it was good. Our brand showed as the answer, but the image chosen was from a different website. So the branding opportunity was lost, but certainly if you clicked on it, it went through to our site. So there's a lot of nuances within that as well. But again, it's the early adoption of it. You've got to show that you're there. And if you're not even in the AI overviews, well, you've completely lost your opportunity to get the client back in. And so we spent a lot of time trying to reverse engineer those results. So our team will sit and start typing in questions. Where is the best facility? How much is? Where is located near this? How do I store this? See what results come up, and then go and analyze those pages, saying, well, how have they structured their data so that they show, and then mimicked it. We've got some great results on that as well. So as a takeaway, I suppose we found that specifically for products, like creating a little table, putting a pricing elements next to it. So here's the products, here's the pricing, here's a description. It was really, really easy for those LLMs to go in and actually just read through it quickly and index it so that it can answer that question. So table format was really good for it. And then I suppose another interesting part of that, I personally don't believe it will take off, but there's a little movement called LLMs.txt. So on old website or any website, you'll find a robots.txt .txt file, which essentially says, listen, go index these pages. Please don't look
Correct.
at these ones, and the suggestion here from kind of the broader community is to create an LLMs, or large language models, TXT file. At the moment, they're saying just take out all the fluff from your website, all the CSS and the images and this, and just write the actual content that you want these LLMs to go and index. So as the engine that your Claude or Grok or Perplexity or ChatGPT, whatever it is, pops onto your website, it goes, oh, you've got this file. Let me run through that rather. And it goes through all the content on the TXT file. Now, I'm not sure it will take off. I haven't seen a lot of it.
I have a different idea there, because I think TXT is old and it should be a JSON file, because they read that, they don't read TXT. Then you're going to feed it to them in the actual format they want. So in order for it to quickly digest, you need a JSON file.
That might even be the way to go. But I think from my side, why I can't see it taking off is because I think the LLMs are pretty good at indexing the content you have now. I don't think you need to really specifically go and create this separate file. But in addition to that, there's going to be a mismatch. Now you've got 2 points of truth. You've got your website front end and this JSON or LLM or TXT file. How do I make sure that these are always up to date and they're the same information? If I change pricing on the front end, do I have to go change it on this file?
It's a problem that needs a solution, Robbie, and somebody will build it. Remember that.
Probably a South African, Eddie.
Huh?
Probably a South African.
Yes. So I think MCPs is where I think things are going to move to, and I think that's going to be a huge differentiator. And there's something there, and I just don't quite grasp it at the moment, because my brain is maybe a little bit too small and I need to investigate a bit more. But I think really those servers are going to be feeding information, and they're probably going to drive a lot of traffic. We may have Google in that, but what happens if I prefer you? So like you could have an MCP that's just serving up all the data. So they don't even have to come to your website anymore. It's here's the data, and the AI will choose how to represent it to me, because I have a personalized AI. So I think we're moving away. In the future, we're going to move away from websites entirely, and I'm just going to have a chat window, and it's going to give me what I want in the format I want and how I want to present it. And then I'm going to purchase and do all of my interactions directly in there. Or this is where we're going in the future, is agents are going to do that. I'm going to send an agent out to do what I want.
Sure.
Hey, agent, I need the best storage in this area at this. This is my budget. Go and find it. It's going to talk to it's going to talk to your server, and it's going to negotiate all by itself, and then it's going to just do it for me.
This is the real fascinating part, because in theory we're already there. So Perplexity launched their new browser model called Comet, which has got a built-in AI, so it can see what you're browsing, and certainly you can type in, okay, like go find the best restaurant for me at this price, and book it for me. Now, obviously, there's still a bit of learning. I think if you watch it, you'll have to. It's a little bit slow at this stage, and you'll have to go and log into your accounts and things like that, so you can kind of give it permission. But I 100% believe, that's the way it's going. Where these agents will shoot off and do things like that. I've seen examples already of online creators essentially getting access to these tools and saying, look, I'm traveling to Austria. These are my dates. Go find the best flights. I want the best hotel. Here's my budget. You could book it for me, go get the inquiry. And then in that area, make a list of the 10 best restaurants and add those points to my Google Maps profile. But on the Google Maps, put a link or a little bit of text about their signature dish, so I know what it is I'm going to eat, and walk away. And off it goes. Now, they did have to pop back and log into Google Maps just to give it authorization. But I think once you've kind of done that and you've got authorization and people are comfortable saying, yes, you're logged in as me, I can only see that advancing. And I don't know if you'd seen a couple of years ago, I think it was out of Asia, there was a little orange box called Rabbit. And essentially, that's essentially what they launched.
Then you had to do main after that.
That's right.
Now we've got there's a newer one that looks like an actual character that sits in your pocket now. Looks like a little robot in your. Yeah.
It's Star Trek. I mean, and that's phenomenal for me. If you remember the old Star Trek, that the little button which you just press and you chat to. I mean, there's your cell phone. It does what you want. Hopefully they can beam us up shortly. That would be phenomenal. But all of those elements, like the elements in movies, is a phenomenal gauge of when we're going to get there. Minority Report, customized ads based off the individual. I know at that stage it was a retina scan and then it showed you an ad, but we've kind of got an element of that online where we've got a persona, you're built in, what are you searching for, what are you interested in, at serving you very specific ads. So that is the type of thing, and someone's obviously going to monetize this, and as I said, Perplexity is already out there with their model. OpenAI has announced already that they want to have a web browser launched in competition with Chrome, which will have the AI built into it. And Gemini and AI Studio on Google's side, you can see all of these things advancing quickly, and we're in it's an arms race at this stage. Yep. How quickly can someone build something which is good and get it to market and get the lion's share of it? And that really is the element of, the cat's out the bag and we cannot pull it back in. And it does bring all sorts of other moral, ethical concerns. And I think I'm probably on the other side, where I'm excited about it. I want to use it. I think it's irrespective of how you feel about it, it's here. But certainly there are going to be some bad players. And the real risk for me is, as you identified, you've got your personal kind of AI agent that will go and do these things for you. But if someone gets hold of, your agent, or has your access to your agent or your login, the damage that can be done is, it's extensive. So there is a real risk as well. But again, I want to be optimistic and say we'll get the right companies. They'll understand their security risks. They'll know that if you can't solve that, the adoption rates will be low. We're going to hear horror stories. I think that's inevitable. But also we are going to see a new launch of capabilities for human beings. And it does bring up the question as well, of employment opportunities. Will this type of thing take away job opportunities? I think it probably will. I think it probably already has. And certainly even within our own business, translators, for argument's sake, we were employing 5 or 6 translators. We don't have any now because AI can just translate. And we actually did a test with one of our clients where we hired a translator, then we had it written from a different person in the natural language firsthand, and then we did an AI version and we sent it through to them, and they didn't know the difference. It was like, these are great, so it's advancing. It's exciting, but I agree. Agents are with us. They're already here.
Yeah, well, agents are already there. The horror stories are already out there. They're already surfacing. I think they're not seeing mass light of day because, as with anything, when there's a lot of money involved, it can be suppressed very easily. That's one of my major concerns with AI is actually suppression of data, because if you aren't in an open network, and they can quickly swarm and cover up. So we're getting to the point at which it's very difficult to understand what's real and what's not real. And that's going to be the biggest problem we have. So stealing my agent is, that's really bad. But I think we've already solved those problems. And that's where blockchain is going to come in. So I think we've got technologies that are going to allow us to underline that, and will also allow us to differentiate between what's an AI agent and who am I as a human. I think we'll be able to differentiate with those very soon. I think the biggest problem is the suppression of data and the circumventing the system. I think those are the things that have moved so quickly. We can't keep up with those. And that's I think the problem. Getting back to the job thing, I had a look, and it was on, I shared it on LinkedIn actually. Somebody had a diagram saying that we're going to lose like 70%, we're going to lose 70% of jobs, but we're actually going to gain them all in new areas. Because although we're advancing, you still need jobs in certain areas. And what people haven't put on is we have a declining population worldwide predominantly. So mostly in the Western countries, but there's declining world population is declining. So there aren't actually enough people for the jobs yet. So we kind of need AI and we need robotics. Whether this is through design or not, we're not going to get into the tinfoil hat region, but we have enough jobs for the people if we project out, because we still have to have people doing search, somebody still overlooking things. We're still going to have human connection. It's just defining how does that human connection fit in. And I think in real life is going to be far more valuable in the future, as we've always seen. It's great, amazing. Everyone wants a robot to come and clean. But if I have enough money, I'm going to have a human do that for me because that's status and prestige. I have a butler. There's a difference between that. So there will always be space, I think, in the future because people will have income and want status. So in real life, it'll become status. And digital will be the average Joe.
Yeah, I think for me, this is just it's a wonderful avenue to run down, and it's all quite speculative.
Oh yeah,
and you just listen to some of the larger industry players. And I think I was listening to a chat with it was Jeffrey Hinton, and he was asked, what would you advise your kids? What should they do now? And he said, be a plumber, which I thought was, it was quite humorous, but he was actually being quite serious. It was a case of there's a genuine skill. I think that's going to be around for a while. I don't see AI taking it over. And the job element as well is, look, I think there will be some job creation, especially in, the technology fields of trying to produce these elements, even if you think about the actual mechanical architecture required to run these elements, but it's quite a skilled job. So now you've got the differentiate, between blue and white collar work and which type of jobs are lost and which type of jobs are gained. And but I agree, there's efficiencies to be gained, and potentially, AI. We've already seen a number of medical breakthroughs as well, with being able to find some really good health benefits, for the human race, and so hopefully lots of benefits then. And it does come into question, if it starts improving our lifetime longevity, then what are the retirement funds going to do, etc., medical aids, etc. But they're all wonderful problems to have, and it's, again, anything like that. I think whenever you see a problem, you must always look at it as where's the opportunity, what's the solve, where's the next step. It shouldn't ever really be a dead end. Yeah.
Well, we can't explore space without these, and we can't hope to colonize other planets without AI and robotics. There's no way we can do it. We have to increase our lifespan, or we have to have technologies that allow us to front run colonization. Those are the two options we have. But we do need to extend our lifespan in order for us to be able to venture out into space.
I thought you got far enough from Cape Town already. You don't need to go further than that, Eddie.
I genuinely would. One of my ambitions is to see the rings of Saturn. I would really love to do that, and to go further out. I'd love to see the rings of Saturn. So that's just something I've always loved to do.
We'll have to use some AI for that, I think.
Maybe. We'll see. Let's see. So we're coming towards the end, and I just wanted to, if you had to start from zero, what would that look like today? Because you've spoken about yellow pages to today. If somebody wanted to start from zero, what would that look like?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We're kicking off internally some SEO and paid interns very shortly as well. And so, I look back, I did a university degree. I think it was a great grounding. I'm not sure. If I look at my own kids as well, I'd love for them to have some sort of, high level education. But I think it's, by the time you've completed, say, like a 4-year degree, I wanted to say when we were doing it, maybe half of it was obsolete. But I think now, it's a lot more that just it's gone. The information is not useful anymore. And so jumping into kind of the working world, getting genuine qualifications. I'm not saying, don't do education, but that type of internship element, the online certifications, the shorter courses, things are just so rapidly advancing that I think it's really getting your hands dirty, and getting into learning from others. So, but again, it goes back to that human connection. So if it were me starting from scratch, I'd probably get as many opportunities as possible to learn from other human beings. Just about because what you get there is it's not just the understanding of the technical expertise in that silo, but they're going to chat to you about dealing with this human being. This is how you get this resource. This is how I've solved this. This was my mistake in the past, and now you don't have to go and make that mistake. And so I think if I were doing it, I'd probably try and get a mentor who'd been in the industry, had gone through it, try and get under their wing, learn as much as possible from them, get a lot of online courses and certifications, and then do a lot of research on your own. And AI certainly can help that. You can have it, produce a number of elements and learnings, like show me this on a daily basis. And I think, I think if I was starting from scratch, that'd be the way to go. I wouldn't change a huge amount because it has been incredibly successful and a wonderful journey. So yeah.
Okay. So, and then obviously experiment.
Absolutely. We're still doing it.
Yeah.
Test and test and test.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest learning from that one was not drawing a line under it. So there's elements that we've tested and thought, okay, we'll write it off. Go back and test it again in a year because the results change and your decisions change and your business changes. And so something that didn't work in the past, if you completely write it off, you're going to miss an opportunity. And it's just about allocating the right amount of resources and time to it, saying, listen, I'm prepared to offer 10% of my time every month to doing something which I don't think will work, but maybe it will.
Yeah. Oh, so not putting a line underneath it because the potential is that you're just early.
Yeah, it could be
You've
early.
seen the signal,
It could be that
early.
I'm just too early. I did the test wrong. Something I wasn't thinking about. Whatever it may be. But I think the real opportunity there is, and what we've tried to do within our business is it is around about 10% of budget, 10% of our time is to go and take an idea which is so far out there that if it works, it'll be an absolute bomb for us. But we all think it won't. Okay, let's go try that one.
That's a moonshot.
It's a moonshot, But if we hit one of them in a year, well, that's phenomenal. But even if we hit none, well, we learned 12 things, in the whole year. So yeah, there's all, and looking at it in a no lose situation is, and keeping that positive attitude is, I think, vital. And I haven't seen anyone who's successful in business who hasn't, let's call it overly optimistic. They'll find the silver lining.
Yeah, I love that. So 12 opportunities for a moonshot and 12 opportunities to learn throughout the year.
That's it.
Amazing. It's incredible. So we're coming to the end. Before we get to the final scribble, have you got any predictions for the latter part of this year and going into 2026? Is there anything you can see, the signal in the market that you can see this is kind of starting to bubble and boil and maybe there's something here?
Yeah, look, in terms of AI, I think that's just going to advance more and more and more. OpenAI is saying, big announcements coming out soon. I think we might start seeing the breakup of the search dominance of Google and what that's going to look like, because people are going to open up different browsers and different chat engines, and so those search functionalities are going to change. And even already within TikTok, I mean, the younger generation is using TikTok as a search engine. So that type of marketing element, we need to kind of broaden where we're advertising, how we're using content is hugely different. I think a lot of the content will be created by AI, and I'm not sure it'll be much worse than what you and I write, but every now and again, we're going to need a human being to actually go and come up with unique ideas and put things on paper. But I think the only constant for me is, and guaranteed, and what we certainly say internally, is it's going to change. We know it's going to change. And so embrace that. Everyone will tell you, yeah, no, I'm up for it. Let's go for change. But as soon as change happens, they dig their heels in. So it's really opening up, saying, okay, I actually really want this change because it's unavoidable. And if I'm the first to kind of learn this and do it, then I've got my opportunity. Yeah.
About taking opportunities. This is the biggest opportunity of the next 10 years. Is we need to capture it now. It's happening as we speak. People are building the future right now, and we're going through a transition. Just like we did in the early 2000s, we're going through that transition again. And it's huge. And it's
It
a
is
world
huge.
of possibilities.
It's not moving from a cassette tape to a CD. This is
No.
these are incredibly quick, incredibly large jumps, but incredibly exciting.
Yeah, this is like skipping the Wright brothers and just having an F-35.
100%.
Just skip everything and the F-35 just lands.
Try and fly that, please. Yeah, but
Yeah, there it is. Fly this.
Which we're doing. Yeah, which we're doing. And I mean, I think, you and I were in school. If someone drops an F-35, we'd be in the pilot seat. Let's go have a look.
I definitely want to play with it. 100%. Probably kill myself, but I'd still play with it.
You'd have a smile on your face doing it.
Oh, well, I suppose, go out with a bang. Go big or go home. You know the rules. No, we're older now. We're far more conservative. We wouldn't do that, would we? So, Robbie, what I wanted to do before we get to the end and you do your final scribble is I want to say how amazing it is to not only have known you through these years and caught up with you again, but for you to share all this amazing information and for an incredible chat. I think we need to have a follow-up because I think there's way more to discuss than just this. But now that we're coming to the end and you're a super busy man, the final scribble is about, do you have a word or a phrase that defines your journey?
I know you shot this through to me before as well, and so I thought, well, what am I going to tell you? But actually, it was actually fairly easy to come up with it, and it was the word scrappy, which I think defines a little bit of us, you and I as well. Just a bit of, we'll make it happen, we'll get it done. You're persistent, you work hard, and look, it's not we don't have fun along the way, but we really, we dig in. We enjoy it. We're part of it. We're scrappy. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, scrappy. I love it. So I think there's a lot. People can learn a lot from that word, what it entails. I think it's going to be more prevalent as we move into this new era as well. You're going to have to move at speed. You're going to have to be scrappy to figure out how the world works and to win. Have you got a quote or a mantra that you'd like to share, some words of wisdom to impart?
Yeah, it's something that I heard, quite a while ago. To give it to you briefly, it essentially says, experience is the thing you get just after you need it. Why I thought it, although it's funny, I thought it was pertinent because you mustn't be afraid to go and make the mistake. Go and do it, go and learn it, get the experience. But I find many people told us when we started Store Age 19 years ago, I was thinking of doing that. And I know the amount of work that was going into it, and the guys who were working with us as well, the sacrifices, the things we gave up, the life we gave up, the time we gave up, the sleep we gave up, the hard work was phenomenal. But that experience has stood in such good stead. And through the years, you've been able to make better and better decisions through that experience. And really the lesson here was, rather than think about it or talk about it, get up, do it, and get the experience. And, if it doesn't work, you still walk away with that experience.
Yeah, that's living and working in schools here. It's something that I come across often, that we were super lucky to have, is to go out and fail. And it's not a failure. It's a learning opportunity and experience, because we've failed so many times. You become immune to the failure part of it. It's just about, okay, well, it's about picking yourself up. So pick yourself up. What can I learn? And then that builds your experience, that the next time you spot things quicker, you're less likely to fail. But here, because there's this constant, maybe just generational thing, there's a constant drive for perfection, and that failure is like death. and it literally feels like death to them, the failure. So, and it's,
Yeah, and I can tell you from experience, it's not that bad.
both of us can say that it's not that
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. We've failed in many remits of our lives, or maybe we've
100%.
learned a lot from a lot of
There we
places.
go. It's not
We've
failed. We've
learned a
learned
lot.
a lot.
We've learned a lot. Yeah, we've had to break ourselves, like we spoke about earlier. We had to break ourselves and we had to rebuild ourselves, and that's life. Is about sometimes you have to break the mold to become what you need to become in order to carry on. That's all it is. Is there any question you have for the audience? A question you have on your mind that hasn't been answered yet?
Um, I suppose, I mean, obviously what I'm interested in the moment is the AI and the advancement of it as well. And but the big question for me is the moral, ethical side of it. Like, I don't want to say, is it moral or is it ethical? And the query is because even people creating these engines and platforms, if they say, no, it needs to be ethical, well, whose ethics? Who's making this? And what do they think that's going to end up being like? Is there going to be one universal AI that kind of controls it all? Is it all these multiples? Is there going to be kind of an arms race between them? And I suppose it's that, where does the moral, ethical stance of AI advancement stand? How are we as a human race going to control this? And can we control
it? Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think I look at it as governance is going to be one of the biggest jobs for humans in the future, trying to play that ethical and moralities around it to try and gauge it. I think from signal that I see, I think it's going to be a multipolar AI world. So not a multipolar geopolitical as well, but it's going to be multipolar with AI. And I think that's the signal that's been given to us. So we're going to have the Apple Android game again. And the reason for that is you need to have healthy competition to drive innovation. And we don't want one arbiter of truth. We want to make sure that we have multiple places where we can choose what the truth or what reality is. I think that's a whole nother topic, is to talk about reality, because you can get so deep down a rabbit hole on what reality actually is. So, but Robbie, thank you very much for your time today.
And yeah, Ben, it was awesome to chat to you.
No, it's been amazing. I'm really glad to have caught up with you again. And Robbie, the director of search, which I think more people are going to have that job title very soon, I'm pretty sure, or similar job titles. But thank you very much for your time today.